Hi, Stamper fans, and welcome back to Facebook. I'm so happy to be back. Um, if you are watching live, welcome. If you're watching the replay, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you learn a little something. That's my goal every week. I am Nan Gerlitz, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Bloomington, Illinois, and I will be here live on my Facebook page at 7 p.m. Central every Monday night. I did skip over to YouTube for a while because I thought that might be a better fit, but I don't think it is. So I'm back here on Facebook, and I will still load these over on my YouTube channel, so we'll keep up with all of that. So if you're ever searching for videos and you're over there, you'll be able to find mine there too. But I will continue to be live here on Facebook every Monday night from now on. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I have fuzzy brain today. It's the Monday after Thanksgiving, and I think I'm coming down with a cold, so please bear with me. I will do my best. But tonight I have this, my winning entry into last week's Friday night stamping competition. And this is with a new bundle that will be available in the next mini catalog. But it is also available right now for early release. Let's flip the camera down, shall we? I will show you. So it is the Fitting Florets collection. And that includes the stamp set and die bundle that will be in the next mini catalog. And it also includes these, let me see what they're called, gold adhesive backed swirls embellishments. There is another stamp set called Framed and Festive that is more Christmas themed. Hi, Lucia. Uh-oh, no sound. Let's see. Russ, you want to tell me if you can hear me? I think I hear my voice from upstairs. Yeah. All right, let me just answer that question then. There we go. Hello, Penny. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Okay, so I was just saying that this set does include the swirls embellishments. There is a Christmas-themed stamp set, and then these gorgeous papers, which I will show you in a minute because we'll be using those tonight. The gold swirls, the Christmas stamp set, and the papers are only available right now while supplies last. So you will be able to get the bundle I'm showing you tonight later on, but everything else is while supplies last. So you can hop on, let me show you here. All products that I'm showing you can be ordered at my online store. There is the link there. I also have a shop now button on the Facebook page there, so you can always check that. But that will have all of the details on this Fitting Florets collection that you can get right now. Huh. Oh, no. Well, I hope Lucia gets that figured out because that's a bummer to watch a video with no sound, especially because I yap and yap. So, all right. So I do have a supply list in the video description. Yeah. Sorry, since I come back to Facebook, I'm like, how does this work again? But as always, I'm going to show you what we're using tonight as well. So we are going to start off with the Framed Florets bundle. So that includes this beautiful stamp set and this gorgeous set of dies, which I'm very excited about. And after several run-throughs, I remembered to put adhesive sheets on here. Now, I did forget to actually put adhesive sheets on my supply list, so I'll have to add that after. Oh, good, Lucia. I'm glad you figured it out. All right, so for inks, we will be using our Memento ink and Evening Evergreen. as well as several different Stampin' Blends. Now, on the supply list, I put the Poppy Parade, the Daffodil Delight, and then I put Evening Evergreen Stampin' Blends. I don't happen to own the Evening Evergreen ones, but what I did was I combined Shaded Spruce and Soft Succulent, and it did a pretty darn good job of matching up. So don't be afraid to mix your colors on your blends to see if you can get a pretty good approximation of what you're using. If you have some paper and you don't have the matching ink, do some playing around. That's all I did. When I realized, oops, that's not Shaded Spruce, that's Evening Evergreen in that paper. So, okay, so that's all of our inks and our, wow, our bundle. Now I'm dropping things. So I said at the beginning, and some of you might have missed it, that it is the Monday after Thanksgiving here in the US. So my brain was already fuzzy because of that, and I think I'm coming down with a cold. So whatever, we're going to get through it. It's just stamping. Okay, so we're going to start out tonight cardstock wise with a piece of thick basic white, which is 8.5 by 5.5 inches, scored at 4 1/4. We actually have a bunch of these just on hand all the time, these and the vanilla as bases, so that we can just grab them and go when we need them. So that's a really good tip, is to have those just always at the ready. Lucia, we are doing very well here, aside from my cold, obviously, but hope you're doing well too. I imagine it's warmer where you are because we're heading into our winter. All right, next layer we've got is our Poppy Parade. And this one, it's kind of a weird size. It is 5 3/8 inches by 4 1/8 inch. Only because I just wanted a really teeny border on this one. And then we're using some of the new designer paper, and I will show you that whole pack in a minute. This one is just so gorgeous. It just reminds me of Christmas. Obviously, you could do it with anything else. I've also seen people color in the berries to be red, which makes it even more Christmassy looking. This one is 5 1/4 by 4. We have a piece of basic white, which we're going to be cutting our ovals from. This one's also 5 1/4 by 4. And we only need one extra little strip for our flower swag here. This one is 1.5 by 4 inches. I've cut 2 of them because I'm going to show you 2 different ways you can do that. Oh my goodness, summer's on hold. That's no good. Yeah, we're in winter coats and scarves and gloves and all sorts of things. So we'll also be using dimensionals and our red rhinestones, and of course our Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, because we're going to be using dies, right? So I also wanted to give you another little tip for, like, let's say you make a card and you're like, well, that's super pretty, I really like how that turned out. You can always take your card that you make and kind of reverse engineer it into a sketch, which is what I did here. I just took the very basic card outline, and then I went, okay, there's an oval, and I literally traced one of the dies in this set to give me that oval. So that's why it's so perfectly drawn, even though it's pen and ink or pen and paper. So then I used this, and I came up with 3 alternative cards using the same layout, and I will show you those at the end. So stick around. So anytime you have a card that you really like, make sure, go ahead and do a quick sketch out of it. Just have a notebook full of sketches. That way you can always go back to that and come up with something for a completely different occasion, a completely different set of products, but it uses that same sketch that you liked. All righty? Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Where should we start? Let's attach some things. Nope, let's die cut some things. Sorry. Because since I have this big layer of Poppy Parade, I thought I would cut another one of the ovals out of this that I could use on another project, since that center will be all hidden afterwards. So get more bang for your buck, right? More out of your supplies. So let's go ahead and do some die cutting first. Okay. I am a little bit discombobulated. I don't know what's going on with me today, guys. We're going to get through it, though. Okay. So we've got our Poppy Parade. Let's grab our dies. And I think I'm going to grab that same die. It's pretty awesome. I do love it. Yeah, Lucia, I just got this suite with my last order, or this bundle, actually. I just ordered the bundle and the papers. And I pretty much am in love with it already. I'm going to be showing it all week on my Facebook page, so you guys will see plenty more options with this bundle and with the papers. Now, I want to show you too that, see, the pieces have been left in here. So what I have, again, I'm dropping things. Good thing I'm short, I'm close to the ground. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my little brush attachment. Now this will actually fit on the end of your Take Your Pick tool. So if I unscrew the putty attachment, I can screw this in. But I use the putty attachment much more than I use this, so it's very easy to use without attaching it to anything. You're just going to run over your, see those little holes on the back? You just run over that, and it'll get all of those little pieces right out for you. You can also use the pokey end of your Take Your Pick tool to do this, but obviously it's a lot more labor intensive. And boom, that die is all clean and ready to cut out the next thing, which is good because we're going to use it again in a minute. Now, by the same logic here, our die is also got some of the pieces. Let me see. There we go. You can see some of those guys were kind of left in. You can go over your cardstock the same way with this. So you can either do that on the little foam pad that comes with this. I tend to just hold things in my hand and do it. It's much easier. It does make a little bit of a mess though, doesn't it? So these two pieces I'm not going to use today, but they're perfect for using on something else. And raise your hand if this reminds you of the mirror in Snow White. Mirror, mirror on the wall, right? How cool would that look backed with silver foil in the middle, and you could make a whole themed thing. You could have a little Disney princess party. So just a little idea for you. So I'm going to clean these little guys off. Let's do that again on our white piece because that's the one we're actually going to use today. But first, adhesive sheets, right? No, I'm not going to make you guys wait. I'll show you how to glue it on with glue. That's what I did to the other one. Raise your hand. Yep. You're such a good guy. So good at following instructions. Okay. So I will clean this die out again later because you guys already saw me do it. So you don't need to watch me do that again. It's a good scrap piece. I do need to clean out these little guys though. This time I'm going to do it over my little garbage bag that I've got hanging here. Love my pegboard. Thanks, honey. Got all my stuff I need right here. And we're actually going to cut this out again because I want there to be that space in between the frame and the oval. And this guy fits obviously right into that oval as we cut it. So what I'm going to do is take this small oval that's in the set, and we're going to put that on here. I'm actually going to put this face up just to make sure I get it. So you'll notice that it is a little smaller. Now this one actually embosses those cool little lines. There we go. And it also cuts out the center. And it'll cut out the outside. So it's a very cool little die. And we will not get that whole frame on this because this piece is smaller than what I'm doing. So I could obviously cut out a different piece of white with this, but because I already had that oval right there, it just makes sense to me to cut it a little smaller so I have what I need. So you can see this one is really off center. It's very thin on this side. It's much thicker on this side because I didn't care. I just wanted this part. Okay. What else do we need to die cut? We also need to die cut one of the swags right now so I can show you how I go about doing that. So let me get my die cut for that stamped image. So there's two different ways you can do die cuts that, cut out stamped images. You can stamp them first and then put your die around the stamped image, which I will show you in a minute. Or you can cut out what we like to call a blank first and then use your Stamparatus to stamp in that blank. That's actually the way I prefer to do it because I get like perfect, it lines up perfectly every time I do it that way. So that is the way I prefer. Let me see here. So the other one, let's get this out of the way for a moment. Let's go ahead and stamp that swag on here, and then I will die cut that one out right away too. Ink pad. Okay. So I actually have this set up on my Stamparatus already. That's okay. We'll go ahead and put that cardstock right over there. Ink it on up. The Stamparatus is also really, really great if you have trouble stamping a full image. So maybe you have some arthritis or you have weakness in your hands or your wrists or something, and you don't always get a clean image all the way. Because that thing is going to stay right where it is, because I put the magnet, and the stamp is not going to move, I can go over that several times. I could make it darker. I could fill in any spots that I may have missed. So it's really great for that. So if you have any sort of strength issues or anything in your hands, really great tool for that as well. Okay, so we've got that stamped. Put that aside for just a moment. Well, we might as well stamp that other guy, I guess, since I have it out. All right, here's the other way you can do this. As you can see, I had my stamp here. I stamped it on my little grid paper, so I would see exactly where it's going to go. Then I took my piece that I die cut out of, and I'm actually just going to line this up right there, right over the image on the grid paper, because I know that's where the stamp is going to hit. So now I can say, okay, that's perfect outline. That's great on all sides. It's going to be even. I can take that piece that I die cut, and it's going to fit right into that little hole because it's the same thing, right? So now we can get our ink pad again. We'll ink that up. And we will come down on that again. The other thing I love about the Stamparatus, when you have a Stampin' Block and you're like, you maybe rocked it and you got some ink on the edge or anything. I've never had that problem with Stamparatus because that plate stays flat. So I can press down on this guy all I want. And even if there was ink around here, I've never had a problem with it transferring. And bam, there is our perfectly stamped die cut image. Love it. So two different ways you can do your die cutting. Let's color these guys first. And I will die cut the other one and show you how that happens. Okay. Let's do a little, I might as well color them both, right? Let's do a little Daffodil Delight in the center. These are not actually poinsettias. Poinsettias? I don't remember. I don't know the way to say it. I never know. These are not the traditional Christmas red flowers. But that one in the center especially really reminded me of that. And since we had this Christmassy looking paper, I thought, you know what, if I just color them red, they'll look like it. So that's what we do. All right, I'm going to take my bullet tip of my poppy and I'm just going to do those kind of inside lines. You can see these guys have like some lines right there in the center. So I'm just going over those. The ones without lines, I'm just adding a little bit of the darker to the centers just to give it a little bit of shading. You don't have to do this. You can certainly just go over the whole darn thing with either the dark or the light and leave it at that. There does not have to be shading and everything, so don't worry. All right, then I'm going to take my light one. We're going to go over. I am not going to go all the way to the tips of these flowers because the alcohol markers tend to spread as they're drying, especially in such a tiny area. So it probably will spread out. And if there's white space left, that makes it look very artistic, I've noticed. The people that really know what they're doing, they kind of leave a little white space. So don't be afraid of that. And don't think it all has to be perfect because it does not. Perfection does not exist even in nature. Because we all know if we look at the different petals and all that kind of stuff, yes, there's symmetry and there's all that Fibonacci stuff that's fascinating, but they're not all the same. They're not all perfect. Things go awry all the time. So don't fret about it. And also a lot of these petals look like leaves. So if you color them the wrong color, don't worry about that either. All right, this one I think I'm just going to do the light poppy because I forgot. And we'll see what the difference is. Again, not going quite to the edge because it will probably bleed out a little bit. It spreads, I guess. And also when you're using the alcohol markers, whoops, bad example, they do bleed through your cardstock, so make sure you're always working on a mat or something like that to protect your surface, unless you don't care about your surface. Sometimes you don't, right? Maybe you have an old Formica table that you got at a garage sale and you bought it specifically for crafting, so go to town. I don't care. All right, so we've got our pretty red flowers. And now, let's start. I think I started with my shaded spruce, and I'm going to do the same thing because I feel like I don't want to mess with it, right? So I'm just going to do on these kind of loopy, leafy things, we're just going to do the dark. Then I'm going to add some shadows in here on the veins of the leaves, maybe at the bases. Just add a little something, zhuzh it up. Okay. I am not going to bother finishing coloring that one because you guys don't need to watch me color all night. Okay, and then I'm going to fill in with our light shaded spruce. You can see I'm not even getting close to the edges. I'm just adding some color, that's all. Because I'm going to go over it again with that succulent to make it a little, I don't know, grayer, more evergreen anyway, not less shaded spruce. Okay, so we've got our color there. And now I'm going to come in with our shaded spruce, which will make it just kind of, I think it adds some gray to it maybe. I'm literally just going to go over the whole darn thing. Probably going to lose a lot of my shading now that I think about it. But it will mix and it will just kind of deepen those shades a bit. I'll make it closer to the evergreen that I was looking for. All right. So now we have our pretty little Christmas flowers. Let's go ahead and die cut those. So you can see how you would line this up if you were die cutting afterwards. So and anytime I'm whoops, that's the bottom plate. Anytime I'm die cutting something, a stamped image like this, especially when it's so intricate, so I'm going to go ahead and get it lined up. I usually line up something with a point like this. I'll line up those leaves on the end, and then I'll look at the rest and go, okay, we need to swing that down a little bit and just get it, you know, as close as you can. So these dies, actually, the cut line on the bottom is set back a little bit from the edge. So you're actually going to line up your image right along the edge, and it's going to look like, oh, I'm going to cut off my design, but you won't. Thanks, Lucia. Yeah, I was really happy that it turned out pretty much evergreen when I was done. So just a nice reminder to make sure if you don't have the right color, experiment a little bit. And it's always good to do kind of a swatch. So if you have like some of those nice little, you know, 1/2 inch pieces of Whisper White, wow, Basic White or vanilla or whatever color you're going to be using. Hey, that worked really well, guys. So you can do it either way. But if you're doing a lot of them, I love the Stamparatus method because it's a lot easier to just cut out a bunch of blanks without having to try to line them up than it is having to try to line them up after you've stamped them. So, but yes, do have a play with your colors and, you know, have little leftover pieces of Basic White or whatever on your table so that if you need to do a color swatch, my friend Patty Bennett actually does that all the time. She'll have a piece of the Basic White and she'll take her blends and she just, you know, does a dark swatch and a light swatch of each color she thinks she's going to use, because it's going to look different if you did it like on here. If you did it on the grid paper, it'll kind of look one way. And if you did it on a piece of white, it looks a little bit different. So this one definitely looks darker than this. So you definitely want to use it on the surface you're going to be coloring to get the true idea of what that color is going to look like. Okay? All right. So everything is now die cut. Oh, we can start assembling. Yay! Okay. So we're going to put down our red piece first. A little bit of our Stampin' Seal in each corner. Because if you remember, there's a lot of times when that's all I put on anyway, even if it's full sheet. So even though that's all that's available, it's plenty. So, and if you match it up so that you get pretty much even, on 3 sides, then that 4th side should be even too. Now we're going to go ahead and attach this beauty. And this one you can decide, you know, which direction. I kind of like most of the berries more up top. I guess that's because, you know, that's where our eyes go probably. So again, a little bit on each corner. And we will line that one up. So I just have that skinny red border, which is perfect because red is such a pop of color anyway. But I also have that red that I cut out and now I can use on another project. So I'm going to use my awesome tweezers that are from our Embossing Editions kit. I absolutely love these tweezers. They are in my little holder. They get used all the time, especially for this. I get glue all over my hands if I'm trying to do this liquid glue thing. So you'll notice on the four kind of peaks, embellishments, whatever, you've got a little more area to play with. So I'm going to put a little bit around each of those. And then I'm really just going to dot it around these edges. I'm barely squeezing this, so not a lot's coming out because I don't want it to be all gloopy, like when I was in kindergarten and put way too much Elmer's on my project. So now with the tweezers, I can really kind of decide where I want it there, then press down. And my hands don't have glue on them. Yay! So that one is actually pretty easy. It would be even easier, obviously, with the adhesive sheets, but it's pretty quick to do with your liquid adhesive. So very manageable. Okay, let's do a little stamping on our oval. And I'm cheating. I'm pulling out my little ink spot of evergreen because my big pad needs a re-inking. And the color is just not deep enough. So what I did forget to bring over was a stamping block. Hold on just a moment. I'll just grab my big one so I know that's going to fit all the stamps I need. Okay. So for this one, because I didn't get the Christmas themed stamp set, I only got this one, but Celebrate is pretty much generic, right? You can use that for so many different occasions. So I thought that would be perfect, even though I was making more of a Christmas card. These little ink spots are pretty fabulous. If you're just starting your ink collection, we have a set of 8 of them, classic Stampin' Spots, that are kind of 8 of our most popular or go-to colors. So you can totally pick those up. And the great thing is you get 8 of them for like $24. So how awesome is that to have 8 great colors for only $24? Woohoo! Then you can decide if you like, the real red or the basic gray, and you use those all the time, then go ahead and get the big pad of them. But if you're just starting out, it's a really economical way to get a lot of colors into your collection pretty quickly. So they also come with our Paper Pumpkin kits. And Paper Pumpkin is our monthly subscription crafting kit. It is fabulous. I get one every month. I have for many years. This coming month, so you subscribe by the 10th of every month, and then you get that kit. So if you subscribe by the 10th of December, you get December's kit. And December's kit is gift card holders, which is perfect for this time of year. And they're kind of like little boxes. They're little fold-up boxes, really, really cute. So we actually got a bit of a sneak peek. In fact, I can show you. All right, real quick peek. Ooh. So they're big enough to hold a gift card. You get 16 of them in this month's kit. And there's also an add-on. If you're a Paper Pumpkin subscriber, you can also buy the add-on, which is 20 card bases and envelopes included. Awesome. And they're all in the colors that will match the kit. So you could make cards to go along with your gift cards, or you could use them for other occasions as well. And those little gift card boxes, it looks like, I obviously have not seen one in person, but it looks like they'd be big enough you could put, a piece of jewelry or something like that, or a couple pieces of candy maybe in with them. So nice creative way to give a gift card, which we're all, you don't like to just give them an envelope with a gift card in it, right? We want to make it a little more special so they have kind of something to open. So, all right. So this guy is going to go right on the card with Stampin' Seal. And I actually had cut another oval out of the red before and had backed it back there to see. Before I attached everything, I was like, do I want it in red? Do I want it? But I really liked that peekaboo through of the designer paper. And I felt like we got enough red with the with the peak there and then the colored flowers. So I decided that was good enough. All right, let me find my dimensionals. Because these guys, look guys, new sheet of dimensionals. The Stamper Man has not pulled from the middle yet. Because yes, he does that. I think he does that just to get me. But me, I start in a nice little row and I'll continue on. But my favorite time of all was when I handed him a brand new page of Stampin' Dimensionals. And when I got them back, he had pulled them out so it made a smiley face in the middle. Now, how fun is that? All right. I'll pop that up by the middle or top up there. And then I just felt like it needed bling, right? So yet, yes, you have not gotten to it yet. Exactly. Because that'll be the next one that comes out on Friday. So I decided to take our little red gems and I just made little trios of like holly berries. So we'll just put them in a couple of empty spots here, a couple of open spots. And you know I like to do them in odd numbers, right? So I had to do 3 sets of these berries. We'll do another one down here. Because then I have 9. And I still have plenty left, so go nutty. It's fine. All righty. So there is our fabulous card. And let me tell you, that was pretty easy to do. I mean, that die does really all the work for you, right? And the paper, the coloring was pretty simple too. I mean, it's only taken me a half hour and I did a whole lot of jibber jabber in there. Okay, but I did promise you alternatives, did I not? So I have them right here. So once again, this was the sketch I decided to work off of. Very, very simple. So first I decided, oh my gosh, what else could fit in that little oval, right? I thought I had other stamp sets and things like that. So I went with our deer punch. And so this is that other little oval with all the embossing on it. I did our fern embossing folder on the back and took the crumb cake deer into that background piece. And then I wanted this strip here, but I wanted the Merry Christmas. And I thought it was kind of fun to thread it on top here, but then underneath on this side. Gives it a little more interest. Thanks, Lucia. And next, I had, I cut a piece of the crumb cake out of that backing. So now I had a frame to use, right? So I came up with this super pretty thank you card. And this uses the Design a Daydream designer paper. Wow. Seriously, guys, words are hard on Mondays. So yeah, I love pink and browns together. So we've just got the crumb cake. We've got that petal pink. I pulled in early espresso in the ink and the background here. And then a couple of champagne rhinestones because we need the bling, right? And last one, I flipped on its side and I wanted to show you what this die would do because it's all pretty, right, with its hearts. But if you notice, it does not have a cut line on the outside or the inside. It only cuts those hearts out. So here is what I made with that. So this extra one is that same kind of frame one that I showed you before. It's just laying on top. That heart die, all it did was cut out those hearts, and then I backed it with a red paper. Cut those little corners out. We've got a beautiful white on white, wedding card. Super fun, all from one sketch. So like I said, make sure when you have a card that you love, do a quick sketch of it and keep those in a notebook for yourself. Let me pop over here so I could talk to you all. There we go. Hit the wrong one. So I hope you learned a little something new tonight. I hope you learned a new tip. Penny loves how I blended the blends colors together. Yeah, I gotta tell you, there's so many times like we don't have a mango blends. And so sometimes you need to mix, say, a crushed curry or a daffodil delight with maybe a little pumpkin pie or maybe a little pale papaya. Not sure. I'd have to play around with that, but I'm sure we could get a mango out of that as well. So thank you very much, ladies. I had a lot of fun making those, and I'm sure I'm going to be obsessed with this sketch for a while, so you'll probably see a lot more of them. Oh, but if you learned something new tonight, I'd love it if you'd share this video so that your friends could learn something new as well. I will be back next Monday right here on Facebook. Till then, I'm Stillman Girls. Happy stamping.